Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the cottage. Tonight we have a new friend over. Lorenzo is going to tell us how to know if we're non-binary. I'm excited. First, a quick programming note. If you stick with me for a second, usually I post a blog on Friday nights, but yeah, I have something kind of big cooking with that, actually, and I'm going to be doing that twice a month, I think, for a while. Just because it's not been what it has been lately, what with the videos, are taking up a lot of time. But on the other hand, I think, it's actually reaching more people. So, and love to people who read the blog. It's still going to happen. Just, not quite as often for now, but they're going to be better. So, anyways, like this video if you enjoy this kind of stuff, and subscribe to the channel to let the algorithm definitely know that. And who knows, maybe share it somewhere. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. Let's jump right in and find out if we're non-binary. So, Lorenzo here is non-binary. I mean, obviously. At least she did us the service of getting the haircut. So, good job there. It's a complicated thing being non-binary. Let's see what we got.
We're going to be talking about 3 tips to help you to figure out whether you're non-binary. And then I'm going to share 3 signs that helped me to figure out that I was non-binary. So this is a common question that I get. And the one that I got this week was, hey Lorenzo, do you have any tips on figuring out if you're non-binary? So we're going to start with that. The first piece of advice that I like to give is make sure that you do research. Make sure that you try to Google labels, Google definitions. Try to figure out where you fit in all of this, because knowledge is power.
Yeah, but Google. Fuck books or talking to anyone. I mean, she does tell you to talk to people, but pretty much only to tell them what to do.
And you will feel more empowered when you can kind of figure these things out on your own.
Empowerment is great, but should that be your main goal in life? It's so sort of nebulous. I honestly am not even exactly sure what it means.
Non-binary. For those of you who think you might be non-binary, remember that non-binary is gender identity. So it means that you don't really identify as a man or a boy, and you don't really identify as a woman or a girl.
Okay, so that's man, woman, not male or female.
You kind of identify in the middle. Remember, we've talked about the fact that gender identity and gender expression is different from biological sex.
Yeah, we've talked about that. That's just an established thing, apparently. That's not going to be explained how exactly that works. And it's going to be contradicted many, many times. And by, halfway through, she's going to just go right back to using the male-female sex terminology.
So we are all born with a biological sex. It might be female, it might be male, it might be intersex. We're all on a spectrum in terms of our biological sex as well.
No. Like, if you have a Y chromosome, you're a male, regardless of how that expresses. At least that's my understanding of it. Admittedly, I am not a scientist. But sure as hell makes more sense than, there being 2 giant clusters on either end of the spectrum. And then, I don't know. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of people who are born intersex. But every intersex condition, from my understanding, can only happen to either a male or a female person. Like the same problem in a male sex individual person, is a different thing and expresses differently than it does in a female. I'm not a scientist, but some people are, and Lorenzo isn't.
And then, of course, we have trans folks. So there's a lot
Of
happening
course.
with biological sex. Gender is something that's completely different.
Completely different.
And it is something that society has decided is a thing to group bodies.
Yes. Because material reality affects your life. Arguably, material reality is your life.
So, thinking about what non-binary means is important in that sense. I
What?
was born biologically female,
No
and
shit.
I identify as non-binary.
Oh, yeah. I want to be seen for my mind too, honey.
Would be my example for you guys. My second piece of advice would be to try some things out. And by this, I mean talk with some really close people that you trust and maybe try out some different pronouns. I use they, them pronouns. A lot of non-binary folks do use they, them pronouns, but not all of them. Some NBs still use she, her, and some use he, him.
Yeah, it's
and
not
some
confusing.
even use some more obscure ones like z, zer.
Okay, those aren't pronouns. Those are nonsense words. Y'all made that up. Secondly, like, this is her telling you to talk to people, but, to tell them what to do. Rather than to ask their advice or have a brainstorming session or something.
So perhaps try some new pronouns and see how they fit. And if they don't fit after a while, go back to whatever you were before if you want.
That's not confusing at all. And like little kids don't understand this. I don't know if you would inflict this on a little kid, but like I just feel like this almost amounts to emotional abuse.
You could also try out different names. Experiment a little bit. See what feels right. See what works for you. I would also consider, different attire or, different clothing.
Ooh, different attire or clothing. And yeah, different names. You can change your name. I've done it twice. It's kind of fun. Excuse me, I have a cold. But, I've also changed my attire many times. I'm starting to get a little long in the tooth, and like, I don't know, unlike a lot of people my age. I don't still dress like I'm in the 7th grade. I have gone through several like iterations of my personal style, and right now I'm just in like a cozy sweater. And she's rocking the non-binary haircut, and she's got the t-shirt, and it's very androgynous. I love how androgyny is always shifting towards masculine though, right?
You could try something like that too and see if your body feels more comfortable in different styles of clothes.
Duh.
The third piece of advice that I want to make sure that you all try out is try putting yourself in some hypothetical situations or maybe in real life experiences.
Yeah. Actually go out and test something out. Woo! What a concept.
When you feel like you've got this gut reaction that something feels off for you. For me, that was something like bathrooms. Men's versus women's. I feel kind of uncomfortable in both of those.
That sounds like anxiety, social anxiety.
If there was a family gender neutral option, that is the bathroom I would choose.
Yeah, I've often done that too, because that one's usually like a single room without a bunch, it doesn't have a bunch of stalls in it and a bunch of sinks all right next to each other, right? So you can be, alone to do your business.
So things like that. When I was a kid as well, we would always be grouped into like groups with girls and groups with boys, and I never really felt comfortable in either of those groups.
Social anxiety.
So definitely be reflecting on those things as you're considering all of this.
Yeah, but don't talk to a professional about it or anything.
So the 3 things for me, you could say, that helped me to realize that I am non-binary. First of all, I should say that I actually came out as non-binary about a year or so ago, so it's pretty recent. However, I've always really identified in my gut as androgynous or as non-binary.
Right, they always have to rewrite history, I guess, because how in the world could you possibly, I mean, again, going back to small children for whatever reason, but like, do they have a concept of this? There's no way.
Since I was maybe like 9 or 10 or 11 years old. And it wasn't until recently that I really started looking into the labels and started to realize, oh, like, this is really who I am. Like, I should use this label because that's me. And it
Yeah, I want to be seen for my mind too, hon.
just all clicked for me. So the first thing that I would say, for me personally, I dealt with a lot of gender dysphoria. And gender dysphoria, for those of you who don't know, is basically where you feel really uncomfortable in your body. It makes you feel like weird. It makes you feel,
Yeah, that's called puberty. That's completely normal.
and you just like aren't great. You don't feel good.
I mean, seriously, I submit to the ether, to the universe, that like gender dysphoria is a normal part of teenage experience. Gender dysphoria, like what they're describing, I know I felt it for sure, and I feel like a lot of people did. We didn't have that vocabulary for it, you know, and we certainly didn't have this framework for it. Thank goodness. But yeah, being uncomfortable with your developing body is the name of the game.
And so for me, when I was about 11 or 12 years old, I loved my body. I was androgynous. I loved it. And then when my body started changing and developing into this female body, more traditionally, I started to feel really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there was really only a surface level investigation as to why that might be. First of all. Secondly, like pre-puberty, all was fine. All was well. And then you started developing into a female. No. Is that really what she said?
My body started changing and developing into this female body. More traditionally, I started
Yeah. Oh, honey. No, you were female all along.
to feel really, really uncomfortable. And I
Yeah,
still
no,
have
right.
a lot of gender dysphoria around my body.
Okay, so like, I don't know. By that definition, I feel like a lot of women do. What's the diet industry doing? Right? What's the plastic surgery industry doing? All right.
Now, as an older person, I also had to think about, like, well, maybe I'm trans. And I imagined
An older person, what are you, 22?
that in my head too. And I thought, well, you know, for me personally, if I was in a male's body, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that either. And that was a really important turning point for me to realize, okay, so if I don't really identify as trans, I don't identify as female, I definitely wish that I had this more androgynous non-binary body.
Was that a Freudian slip? Again, that word creeps in there really bad. You wanted an androgynous female body? Again, I don't see. You have achieved that. Congratulations. Seriously, like, you look good. I'm not lying. You know, your hair looks good. The t-shirt looks good. I like a good fitting black t-shirt. I'm not. This is a. Anyway. So, yeah.
Identify as female. I definitely wish that I had this more androgynous non-binary body like I had when I was like 11, you know?
Yeah, so it goes back to like being what, sexless. I mean, I guess like that's what androgyny is. Which, like, I don't know, it does though. It slides back towards the masculine, and like, yeah, womanhood is a different thing. It's not especially like well structured or mythologized, or it doesn't have a lot of depth to it, because that's been systematically destroyed over the course of thousands of years, but that's another video.
No, that would have been perfect. But anyways.
Life's not perfect.
Well, so gender dysphoria for me, that mental, physical kind of struggle there. Number 2 was a social issue for me where I felt very out of place. I felt like I didn't belong.
Social anxiety.
When I was a kid and people would say, oh, boys over here, girls over here. I would be like, I don't really feel comfortable in either of these groups. I don't know. And that was
social anxiety.
That was a huge flag for me as well, thinking like I don't really belong in these groups. So that's something to think about.
Also, I feel like everybody kind of feels that way, especially in puberty, right? It's that kind of thing where you're like, well, everyone in this, has their thing but me, and I don't know what I'm doing, and everyone knows what they're doing but me, and then you find out later that no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
I did, however, really like it when people thought that I was a boy. I often got misgendered as a boy. And even now as an adult, people sometimes say sir to me, and I love it. And one of those, things I had to think through as well is, okay, Lauren, do you identify as trans? Or
did she just dead name herself? But so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like manipulating other people's perception of you is a power trip, right?
Or is it just that you identify a little less as female, and so hearing those things feels good to you?
Right, so you identify as female, even though, stay with me now, gender and sex are completely different things, right, Lauren?
And that's definitely what it was for me, because I was definitely more in the middle. The third thing for sure is emotions. I'm a very emotional person, which a lot of you know.
Many people are.
And so I think being socialized as female, being socialized as you have a lot of emotions, you're a girl, like girls have emotions. I thought for a long time, like, well, I guess I must be a girl because I'm a pretty emotional person.
Many people are emotional people. A lot of them are men. They express it differently sometimes, maybe. I don't know. But that doesn't have anything to do with what sex you are, which is totally different from gender, right?
Which is really horrible in and of itself because, again, society telling you what you're supposed to be, how you're socialized as a child. Boys, for example, aren't allowed to show their emotions, and it's really tough for boys. They aren't allowed to feel sensitive either. So they've got their own slew of issues. For me, I was dealing...
Yeah, gender roles suck for everybody.
The fact that I thought that, well, I must be a female because I have all these emotions. And then as I educated myself and I grew and I developed as a person, I realized we all have emotions all over the spectrum, and I don't have to be a girl to have emotions.
Right, that doesn't make you not a girl. You completely took that backwards.
So that was my last sort of really important thing. There are lots of other things, that were personal for me as well.
I'm sure.
For example, how I dress. I love dressing androgynously. I love it when people look at me and they can't tell if I'm a boy or a girl.
Yeah, I like being seen from my mind too, hon.
Or a man or a woman. I love that, and that's how I really feel like I do identify as non-binary in that way. My biggest advice for all of you is to listen to your gut. Try not to be super influenced by everybody else's opinions and judgments on you.
Including yours, I suppose, right? Ugh. Lauren's just been sitting here repeating herself, right? And then she's now telling us not to listen to anyone. Or, just go with your gut. Which, to a certain extent, when you're expressing yourself, you should maybe do that. And really not worry about what it looks like to other people, which is exactly what this kind of thing is all preoccupied with.
try really, really hard to just be authentic to yourself as much as you're able to.
Try.
The last thing I wanted to talk
Try
about
to be
really
authentic
quickly
to yourself.
is this thing called the gender.
But not your sexed self. Oh boy, here we go with the gender unicorn. Yay.
Gender unicorn. I filled out this gender unicorn and I thought that it was super, super helpful in helping me to sort of negotiate my own spectrum. And if any of you might find this gender unicorn to be helpful,
So not only do you have your own place on the spectrum, but you have your own internal spectrum as well. That's a lot of spectra.
I suggest checking it out. So there are 5 different categories with the gender unicorn. The first one is gender identity, gender expression, sex assigned at birth, physically attracted to, and emotionally attracted to.
Is that sex assigned at birth bit the reason that this one's kind of fallen out of fashion? I'm not sure how old this video is, but I thought it would be informative to kind of go through and see, what kind of presentation of this stuff is out there for, accessible for the youth. But then this is seriously like a quiz in a teen magazine, isn't it? I identify as non-binary. I have a mostly androgynous expression. I am biologically sex female. I like girls. ... I identify as demisexual. It's all, internal, except for a couple of them, right? It's the androgynous expression is like she was saying, you can change your clothes and experiment with it, right? So like, how is that, like right next to assigned at birth? I feel like those are 2 completely different things.
The first 2 categories are gender. The third category
Like you can wear whatever
is
you
your
want.
biological sex. And the last 2 categories would be considered like sexual orientation or sexuality. So for me, I've got these 5 categories. The first one is that I identify as non-binary. And you can see where I've put all of the red dots on my
I like how that one's at the
lines
top.
there. The second one for gender expression, I had the mostly androgynous expression. The third one would be that I am a biologically sexed female. The fourth one, I am physically attracted to. I like girls.
Is that one a little controversial, perhaps? Oh, and quick note, if she sounds a little weird, not sure if I said this, I had to slow her down a little bit because she talked so fast. I wanted to respond to this video for a while, but every time I watched it, I would like zone out. So I had to slow her down just a little bit to actually be able to even follow a lot of what she is saying. Which, that rapid fire thing, a lot of them do that. I've talked about that before. To keep you from actually pausing to ponder any of the dumb shit that they're saying, I guess.
Oh, that's my answer for that one. The last one is you're emotionally attracted to. I identify as demisexual. So I am primarily, first and foremost, attracted to someone based on emotional connection. So that means I am sexually attracted to people with whom I have a close emotional connection first. Again.
So like, normal?
Mostly girls. So that wraps it up for today.
Okay.
We got the 3 big tips for trying to figure out if you're non-binary, and then I shared some of my own experience with you as well. Please make sure that you submit any questions that you think might be a common question in my Instagram DMs,
But if it's not a common question, I should keep it to myself. That's not a very open-minded attitude to have there, Lauren. Oh, but like that little kindergarten level summary was fun, right?
I will definitely make some more YouTubes like this. I hope you all have an awesome day. Peace out.
Yay. I hope you have an awesome day too. Yeah. So, are you non-binary? Did you learn, was that amazingly woke video informative for you and your life journey. No, I seriously, obviously everyone is on a journey of some kind, but I don't think stuff like that's helpful. Nope. I think, obviously she went in with a lot of preconceived notions, right? A lot of preconceived ideas. And it's that old story about, being non-binary is considered like being seen for who you are instead of what you are. But the thing is, like, you're both. And there's nothing you can do about that. It looks like, Lauren is still whole, I think. Not to be, gross, but I hope that she stays that way. Obviously, it's terrifying what they're doing to some of these young women. Anyway, Lauren is very confused. But again, I thought it would be maybe informative to go through her presentation of these signs that you're non-binary, which is basically puberty. Non-binary equals puberty. Yep. It does get better. It does. Eventually, after doing the same dumb shit for long enough, you start to kind of get the hang of it. And then you get to maybe move on to other dumb shit. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, not to quote sexist old mother. But anyway, it's a good line because it's true. You just can't have this level of control. You can't control how other people think. You can't. It's impossible. And being this preoccupied with achieving that rots your brain. Apparently, it makes you spout nonsense like this. I hope that maybe one day Lauren sees the light and will come over to, the dark side, the yin, whatever, the woman side. It's okay. She is like, gender is completely different from sex, and then just goes on to conflate them entirely. So we all know what we're talking about. She's trying to get away from being female, from being a woman, because it makes her uncomfortable. That's exactly what she said, which is completely understandable. I think everyone, both sexes go through that. Puberty sucks. But it doesn't mean you get to just opt out. It's not because I say so. It's because, again, the material circumstances of what's going on for you matter. There's just only a certain amount of things in your life that you can actually control, and maybe you should focus on those. And I think that you would find yourself a lot happier at the end of the day. So, love to Lauren and love to you for sticking with me. Please like the video if you enjoyed picking this stuff apart with me tonight, and subscribe to the channel to let the algorithm know that you want to see more. And I will see you next time. I'm going to go find some more stuff to pick apart with you. Bye.